Hi, thanks for watching our video. Today I'm going to show you a real quick version of how I made the Infinity Dragon pendant. So first things first, I had to get a piece of quartz sandstone that I really liked. And once I found the right stone, I had to figure out how I wanted to design the dragon. So I started off, I wasn't sure I was going to do an Infinity Dragon at first. I just knew I wanted to do some kind of dragon and didn't like the initial head I did, so I ended up redrawing that. After I finally came up with a head that I liked, I went ahead and drew out with pencil the shape of the entire dragon on the pendant. I always like to work things out in pencil first because you can erase whenever you make mistakes. And making mistakes is something that I do quite often in my work. So after designing with pencil, I got a permanent marker and went over the whole thing in permanent marker so it would stand up to water and going through the saw. Going through the saw, I cut it down so I had a little bit more of a lighter shape to it, something that's a little less heavy around the neck. And I went ahead and sculpted using various diamond bits and rotary tools and back and forth to the saw to cut things up. So this stone required a good amount of work. I generally prefer to work with this very tight quartz sandstone. A lot of the time that I work with this, everything required has got to be a diamond blade, diamond saw blades, diamond rotary blades for the rotary tools. It's a very hard stone. At some points, I do use files and picks and even chisels if necessary. However, this piece only required me to use a file on occasion. Don't think that I have enough of that in the video, especially trying to cut for time. When making this, I like to make sure that I'm working with tools that can not always be wet and still last. A lot of these diamond blades, if you don't have them wet, you burn them out in seconds. So I have to work with a sponge underneath that I keep wet, and I use the tool to help draw water up. A little technique I taught myself, and it does help my blades last a little bit longer. However, not as long as if I kept them in the drainage there or the water that I have through my fountain that I use the larger saw rotary blade for. I do have tile saws and other stone saws that I use to cut these stones. However, it does make things a little difficult for finer work if you're using a 10-inch blade as opposed to a inch or inch and a quarter blade. Once all the cutting is done, then the sanding and the buffing begins. You can't really get a perfect polish on this sandstone. However, you can brighten it up just a little bit. With the amount of grooves and texture, I don't want to use any heavy-duty waxes or anything like that, as it would just take away from the piece itself. Once the piece is polished enough and cleaned up, it's time for me to find some wire to make a bail. I found some vintage bronze, and I wrapped that to make a tight little bail around the end. So I'm very happy with this. Thank you for watching.